Okay, so today's tomato review is going to be on the blush tomato. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the blush tomato. Try to get you in a good light here. And this is absolutely a wonderful looking tomato. I love eating these while I'm out in the garden. These are a lot of fun to eat, and they are a fun tomato to grow. And as you can see, this tomato is very different than most other tomatoes. This is basically a cherry tomato, but it's a elongated type cherry tomato, and it's striped, which gives it a very unique characteristic. Now, I'm not sure how well you're picking this up, but I don't know if you can see, I don't know how good you can see this on the camera. I won't know until it's done and the tomatoes are processed. So you can see it's a very small tomato. It's about the size of a grape tomato, but it's elongated and it's nice and striped. It's a very beautiful tomato. And here's the inside of it. Okay, that's the inside of it. I cut one in half. And again, you can see the striping on the outside. You can see it has a lot of wilding in the rind. It's basically bi-chambered, so there's chambers on each side. And I have to eat one of these to tell you exactly what it tastes like. But if you're going to grow a cherry tomato and you're looking for something very interesting in the garden, this is one of those tomatoes you can grow. You don't need to label it or know it. You can easily identify this tomato simply by the way it looks. You cannot confuse this tomato with any other tomato. It's absolutely identifiable. Alright, so let's give it a taste. It's got a tangy of around plus 30. I'm going to say like 32 or something like that. Somewhere around there, it's like a 30 plus tang. And the sweetness is probably a 30. So it's a very good balance on this tomato. The skins were a little tough. I actually had to spit that skin out. It was very, very tough. I'm going to eat this one too. This tomato in general is not a super heavy producer, but I've only been growing this tomato for about 2 years, so I haven't had luck in the first year. I mean, it put out a few, but I didn't really get a whole bunch out of it. And the second year it put out, this year obviously, it put out a little bit more than last year. But again, it wasn't a heavy producer. Some of that is my fault. Bad soil, crappy growing year for tomatoes, and wasn't the best. So maybe next year will be a good tomato year and I'll get hundreds of these tomatoes. But I can't really elaborate on its growing potential, and some of that is my fault. This particular tomato variety needs to be encouraged and coddled a little bit more than the other tomatoes. If you're going to grow this tomato and you're only going to grow 6 varieties, make sure you put a lot of attention on this tomato. Give it the extra Epsom salt and make sure it's well watered. Make sure it's mulched on the bottom. Give it good soil. Add lime to the soil. Trim back the suckers. Trim the top of the plant. Really pay attention to the plant, because this one takes a little bit to establish, and I would imagine the climatized seeds for the next year are going to be a much better producing variety. So I would definitely coddle this tomato a little more. So let's finish this last half up right here. Skins are very tough on this one, very, very tough, but they were chewable. So a lot of times when I eat tomatoes, the skins will chew up a little bit, and then it seems like the skin separates or gets broken apart from the rest of the skin, And with regular tomatoes, that skin seems to get stuck to the roof of your mouth or stuck on the side of your gums. And you have to kind of get in there to fish the thing out. Nothing wants to get that piece of tomato skin out, and it's really annoying. This tomato was thick and hard to chew, but if you chew on it, it would stay together and it would chew up and you could swallow. I didn't get little pieces of tomato skin all over my mouth, and it wasn't like super annoying. But it's still a great tasting tomato. I really like this tomato a lot. Presentation, this is an awesome presentation tomato. If you're making a salad and you want to grab your guest's eyes and you want to make your salad or your food presentation look a little bit on the interesting side, this is one of those tomatoes you can use to do that. It's a very beautiful and interesting looking tomato. I definitely highly recommend growing it. Though this isn't my top #1 favorite cherry type or smaller type tomatoes, this is definitely not in the #1 category because I have other tomatoes that are superior in flavor. And ultimately, flavor is what I really ultimately rate my tomato as. Now, I do rate the production and I do rate the tomato based on other aspects of what I'm generally rating the tomato at. But mainly I rate them by flavor. Now, the flavor on this is pretty good. I can't say it's better than the black cherry tomato or the white cherry tomato. The black cherry tomato, in my opinion, is a #1 absolute winner when it comes to cherry tomatoes. This tomato is good tasting and it's a nice snacking tomato, but because the skins are a little bit on the tougher side, I wouldn't put it at a #1 kind of in that reason. And another reason why I'm not going to put it in the #1 is because it hasn't been a heavy producer tomato. And it's really the kind of a tomato plant that kind of likes to be coddled a little bit. In other words, you got to really make sure the soil's good. You really got to keep on top of the watering. You got to trim it back. It likes a lot of attention. And the black cherry tomatoes, virtually, you plant that thing and forget it. You're getting hundreds of those tomatoes without any effort at all. This one takes a little effort to get it to be somewhat productive. But again, it's still a beautiful tomato. As far as the striping and the beauty of this tomato, this one is absolutely gorgeous and superior in that sense. But I can't rate it as a #1. I will rate this like a #2 this year. It's definitely tastes good. The look is great. It was okay as a producer. It survived some of the tomato wilt problems I was having with other tomatoes. This one went right through it. Now, I want you to keep in mind there are two kinds of blush tomatoes. One is blush, and then one is blush PVP. I'm not sure if this is the PVP or the regular blush, but they're both basically the same tomato. Now, if I am wrong about that, I will double check that. I have both seeds, the blush and the blush PVP. If I am wrong, I will put something in the description below and just state that this what it is, the blush or the blush PVP. I could be wrong. I may have made a mistake, but I don't have the information directly in front of me. But either way, you'll definitely get the correct name in the title and description as to what exact tomato is this once I get in there and I can get into the metadata and everything. So this is going to be a rating of a #2 this year, and we'll see what next year brings. If I can get this to become a #1, then we'll certainly do that. We'll bring it up to #1, but it's still a great tomato to grow. I highly recommend growing this tomato. Give it a go. If you see it for sale online, definitely give it a go. I'll provide you with links in the description below from Amazon. And that's about it. That was your review for the blush tomato. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.